Here we are. For those people that are not going to be live with us, this might be a little boring, but for anybody that joins live, welcome, and let's have some fun. Look you up on my other phone here. As you guys can see, I've kind of cleaned up a bit. Hey, Brandon, Andy, and David. Brandon, Andy. Okay. I know, David, you already have a 394. Where'd you get that thing? So I have a little bit of ambition right now. So I figured we'd just go ahead and play with this 394. I did not get down to my folks to machine the other one, so I haven't done that. But we did get some goodies. Who likes goodies? Like a brand new top cover? How's that? I don't know if we'll need it or not, but I got a brand new starter cover too. So definitely goodies there. All right, so let's double check on the squish here and see where it ended up. Echo in my brain. I don't know who else is coming. Tight. Hey, Dan, ready to do some port work, buddy? $21. 20. Man, I guess you must be right on the money. Make sure that it's good. Yeah, that looks like it's right on the money. Okay. So I'd say the squish is good at this point. Now what we need to do is get the degree wheel on it and see where we want to go with that. You're going to be 64.21 right now. What are you going to do with that, Dan? Hey, Eric. Is that, Dan, is that one of those that you can do the 7900 top ends on? Yeah. Cool. What do I need? I need my degree wheel. And I need my adapter. So, Dan, is that for the build-off? I'm not doing the build-off. I'm going to let you guys have fun with that. $13 people watching. Okay. How's the camera? We're pretty good here. Well, we're Jamie Trotter. Just poured a 7910, and I love that saw. Yeah, a lot of people are pretty dedicated to that, to the Dolmars. That line there. Why am I having light trouble? Anyway. Oh, you're gonna make the trip down, huh? Oh, that's cool. Your daughter, Sarah, right? Right. Am I remembering that right? Yep, I got it. Good. Okay. All right, so now I just got to tighten this down. Reasonable tight. So just so everybody sees what I'm doing, this is like a super cheap and easy degree wheel setup. I literally printed this off of Google. You get an image and you can print it, blow it up nice and big on a page, and it ended up being on 2 pages. So I spliced the second one together here, but this is just a piece of 1/4 inch, the brown board or whatever it is, and with a hole in the center. And I actually used air fittings and a washer. And so it goes on the flywheel side on this one, and the flywheel side being M10 by 1.0. I just tapped it for M10 by 1.0. I tapped the fitting. It's actually a coupling, some type of a coupling. This is M8, the other is M10. It doesn't have to be an amazing setup. There's all kinds of ways to do this yourself. Amen, Tim. Yeah. Actually, what I was going to mention, guys, was I think I'm going to go down tomorrow morning and pick up some tools from the machinist. So that's good. Then I will definitely have stock, and I will hopefully be shipping midweek to anybody that's placed an order. And I have a few. I definitely have a few people that have placed orders. So I'll probably be shipping midweek. I don't think I'm going to get out Monday or Tuesday. Those are long days for me. But Wednesday I get out early, so if I can, I will run right over to the post office and get stuff shipped for everybody. Okay, so then what I do is I look visually in the top, more or less the piston to top dead center. Then what I do is I draw some arbitrary lines with a Sharpie. This is an arbitrary line. But it's 2 lines that line up. That's all that I need. You can get a coat hanger and hang it off of you can do all kinds of stuff if you want. A coat hanger might be more accurate, it might not be, but you can just hang it off one of the top screws or something like that and put the coat hanger on. But I just visually use the lines because for what I'm doing, I just don't need to be that accurate. I don't need to be down to 1/2 degree. It just doesn't... I just don't need it, So then what I do is I'll loosen the wheel here and bring it, once I have the piston visually at top dead center, I'll bring the wheel over to more or less in line with the lines. And tighten it down. Then, hey Nikki, did you see not yesterday, the day before, I was talking about what you were talking about. I'm trying to address your question. So I put in a piston stop, and again, the piston stop is arbitrary. This just happens to be like an aluminum handle here, but for a tap and die set, doesn't matter. But it's an arbitrary stop, and it stops right now visually about 33 degrees on that side. So you run it over to the other side, and that is roughly 25. So now what you do is you move the wheel here to split the difference. 25, 38, so I got to go to 29. 25 to 33 is 8. divided in half is 4. So you want 29 degrees roughly. Go back to the other side. That's like 30. That's like 28. So I need one more push. Yeah, so that's 28, 29. That's 28, 29. Perfect. So now this is balanced left to right, and we can now read our degree wheel appropriately. And there's other ways you can check it too. You can look on your intake and see where it stops and say, okay, on that side of the rotation, it stops at 73, between 73 and 74 in, and go to the rotate it basically half a rotation and see right there. And that says 74. So yeah, so now we have this balanced because it reads the same on both sides of the rotation. So everybody can see, right? Everybody's good? 15 people watching. Okay. What else now? Now that we have the degree wheel on, we can start setting, well, you have to choose exactly where you want your numbers to be, but you know, what numbers do you set? Well, that's cool. I got this. These are 3/16 quarter 20s. Yeah, so Nikki, I hope I answered your question there. For the foreseeable future, I'm just going to have a hard time putting up content that's fresh, you know? Hey, Ken. Okay, so now what we do is we have to choose and see exactly, let's say you wanted an exhaust of 100. Let's figure on setting the exhaust to that, right? So get a ring. You can use an old ring if you want. Doesn't really matter. Put the old ring in the cylinder. Bring this to, now you want to bring this to bottom dead center. So the piston's all the way down. Yeah, so I'm just kind of concerned that I'm gonna have not enough fresh content for you guys, you know. because I'm really trying not to take on any more work, and I just don't need any more saw work, you know. I've got so many other things to do. So I'm fine with being a hangout spot, you know. You can all hang out. That's cool. But I've got other stuff to do, and I don't know if it's YouTube worthy is the thing. So Dave Lee, set my squish to 199.372. Dave, depends on if do you have a pop-up? Did you machine the squish band at all? Assuming not, you should be looking for about 170, 180 pounds. Okay, so now what we do is we can take this and run it up to 100 degrees before top dead center. That's where we want our exhaust. If we say, okay, let's make our exhaust like 100, 101, something like that, then let's set it to 101 just so we don't overgrind. So 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So then this mark here is 100. And you bring this up to that. I'm going to do that here. You mark it on your finger, 101 before top dead center. You bring this all the way up to that, and then you back it off to bottom dead center. And now, you pull this out. Did I get the 268 pistons yet? Of course I did. Anybody want 268 pistons? Where's my drill? I don't need it for this. It only takes 2 seconds to... So this comes off. And now what we have a ring that's exactly where we want it to be internally in the cylinder. It shows me exactly where to grind height-wise. Not width-wise, but height-wise. I think the hot start issue on the was it the 550s is that the carburetor gets too hot. So here's what I do. I take a nice Sharpie and I go in and make my line. So now I don't want to grind all that black away, but especially at the edges, you know, I want to make it sort of flat in the middle, but I want to kind of, what is it? Concave the edges. As far as width, I'm going to take this out a millimeter or two more for width. But that's only because of the width of the piston skirt. And you can actually drop the piston in here and keep it straight and then draw on the piston to see how much support you end up with. Yeah, Ken, that's a good idea. Spray if it's hot, and you spray some carburetor cleaner in there. Does it pop? So now I have my black line in here, and now I know where to grind to. I'd say change that coil, Nikki. So we got quite a bit of grinding to do. So we better get to it. Gonna be here all night. Hey, Galvin. Right, Gavin's here. Cool. MS660. Gavin, did you have you messed with it all yet? It's a good idea, Ken. So width-wise, I'm not going to go crazy here. A couple millimeters more and it's fine. We'll stay well within the width of the piston skirt. But if you want to make lines and all that stuff to draw in where the piston skirt is and whatnot so you don't grind to it, that's fine too. I'm not going to go super crazy on this. Let's use a new burr here. The other dumb thing I forgot to do was get new arbors for this. I gotta get those. All right. What am I waiting for here? So when I'm grinding on stuff, I try to wear gloves because these pieces are sharp. The pieces of plating that come off are pretty sharp. That and oh, I need my toolbox. Hang on a second. David, that's interesting. Spray the coil to cool it off. That's interesting. Hey, Larry. Okay, here we go. Look in here, you want to make it all straight, you know? Everything's straight, it's a valve, so it's got to open crisply. grind them down to bare metal. Kev. I basically stop just short of the line and make sure at the edges I've got a nice curve up on the edges, and you go as wide as the piston skirt will allow you to. Now, on a used cylinder, you can actually see the line of the piston skirt, so it's easy. You don't have to go trying to make marks and whatnot. I don't really port new stuff. In general, I just don't do it. It's very rare that I port something that's brand new. If you have a new cylinder, I just really like to leave it alone. So you look at how even it is or whatever, I see a lump that I gotta fix. Take care, Dave. So that's kind of roughed out for the exhaust. While we're at it, while we still have this burr here, we can do the lower transfer. Now, me personally, I don't like the lip on the lower transfers. It doesn't, this lip here, you can hang your finger in it. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I smooth out the transfers, and I try to bring them back just a little bit. That way, the whole flow kind of goes like that. It's just an idea. I'm not a pro at this. So, some people might leave the lowers alone. Good thing I put another one on charge. Good thing I got another one here. Yeah, I know. I know there's noise as I got the vacuum on. Sorry. So yeah, so here you can see the before and afters, sort of. So this is after. And I just did the lower, not the upper, just this lower. Just a little smoother transition, I think. And here's the other one. Anybody have any questions so far? Comments? Again, I am not a professional at this. I'm just trying to get a little bit extra out of the cylinder head. Do the other side here. Okay, so yes, lots of practice on teeth. How much material do I remove? Well, you can look. I just like to make it smoother, that's all. And I make them a little bit further back toward the exhaust if I can. Um, if the piston has the room for it. So let's clean this out. I just cleaned up. Now I don't know where anything is. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see it. So does this? I don't know. I don't know what you guys can and can't see. How much material do you remove with the lowers? I really don't try to remove lots from the lower transfers. I just want to make the transition smoother. That's all. Does it help? I don't know. Hopefully. And then what I'm going to do is actually to go back in here with sandpaper. Same thing on the exhaust. I'll go back in there with 50 grit and then 220. So I have to measure the intake here and see where we need to end up, but probably going to be removing quite a bit. Do you think he imagines a filling when porting, or the other way around? Yeah, well. So Kenneth, so specifically, so what we port a cylinder, what it's doing, increasing compression? No, I don't consider porting necessarily increasing compression. Overall, when you do polish and port job, the compression does increase, but what I consider porting is what I'm doing now. So polishing and porting is maybe widening the exhaust or reshaping the exhaust or adjusting where the transfers are. So when I'm raising the exhaust, lowering the, I forget what all the terms are. If I raise the exhaust like I'm doing now, it means that there probably will actually be less compression. The exhaust will open earlier after the bang, right? So if the piston's going up, it goes bang, and then the piston comes back down and then dumps the exhaust gases out. If you raise the exhaust, then it's going to dump faster, and will probably actually decrease compression a little bit, but increase your capacity for RPM, and it might, if you raise it too much, decrease torque. So the more time that you have after the bang to hold the exhaust in, more or less, will get you more torque. If anybody has a better theory on this, I'm open to it. I'm not an expert here on port theory. I really could care less, to be honest. And it's simply because I'm doing a little bit to cylinder heads to get them a little bit better, and that's really all that I care about. I do not care about testing and going back and forth and raising and lowering, and I just don't do all that. There are guys that are really good at that. If you watch some of Tree Monkey's videos, that's what he's doing. So if you want to go play in that arena, be my guest. If you want to just work on a cylinder head here to have it be a little bit better, then this will indeed do it. So anyway, so if you raise the exhaust, then what you're doing is you're decreasing the duration that the bang, effectively, the combusted gases are held in the chamber as the piston is going down. Does that make sense? decreasing the friction. You're increasing cubic feet per minute. Yes. So if you're definitely increasing the flow because you've got a wider exhaust theoretically, and you're also making the actual opening of the valve. You want to make the opening of the valve as crisp as you possibly can. So if the valve is slightly leaky on one side before it fully opens, then it's not going to be as efficient of an opening. Does that make sense? Do I wear plugs? See? So gloves, plugs, glasses. So yeah, this is quite noisy, and so that's why I'm talking a little loud to you guys. Larry, a 394 is fantastic to play with. I promise. These are so much fun. $140 is cheap for a used MS200T. Yes, not 201s. I don't do, Brandon, but a 200T if you can get it fairly complete for 140 bucks. Yeah, pretty cheap. Other questions, guys? Before I continue here. The bit that I'm using. Okay, so these are carbides. Hang on, I'll show you. Give me half a second here. I'm gonna clean it off. These are just carbides off of eBay. There's nothing special. They come in an assortment. And this is a pencil adapter for my Dremel. And this is for Dremel, but this is actually a Bosch tool. I had to import this from Italy. It wasn't actually available here in the States. I don't know why. But anyway, so this is basically a regular Dremel tool bit and everything. This is, I think, a 3mm shaft. And this is a double cut carbide. So, but it comes in a kit. So it's like this, and it's like 20 bucks off of eBay. And they come with all different sizes and whatnot. Basic percentages of exhaust intake per cc, does that not matter? Bob, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't typically think of it like that. For 2-cycle, we just think of it in timing. So at 100 degrees before top dead center is generally a good average exhaust. You can bring it up a little bit. On a 394, you don't necessarily need more torque, but you might want a little more RPM because they tend to not have the RPM. So if you want it to rev a little more, so raise the exhaust, bring it up to 100 as opposed to like 105 or wherever you might start. On the intake, I like to have an intake right around 80 for this, so between 78 and 80. You're taking a bigger gulp of air-fuel mixture than if you're at, say, 72. So if you take too much, then you end up with spitback because you can't fill the case. But if you end up with like a 84 intake, it might be a little too much. But somewhere around 80 on this saw is usually a pretty good intake, I think they're 3mm shaft, and they're just regular, carbide Dremel. You can look them up on eBay. I don't have an Amazon link. Let's play with some sandpaper right now to see if we can shine these up a little bit, and then we'll get to we have to clean the cylinder head and then measure Actually, while we're at it, no, let me bevel the exhaust with a diamond. Let's do that. I've got a ball diamond here that I use. You can use a football also. Tree Monkey specifically recommends a football. I haven't found much difference, but I tend to like using the ball a little bit better. So I just go around the edge here and bevel it. Pretty good. So basically, I stop just short of the black line when I'm grinding, and then bevel it right to the black line, and then I polish with the sandpaper, and it ends up where it ends up, you know. And no, sorry again, Ken, I don't have a link to bits on Amazon. You can play with this forever. You know? You can just keep playing and playing and playing. Just depends on who you are and what you like to do, and you know, what's the purpose of the saw? Is it a race saw? Well, you're going to be playing this with this for a while. see. I'll build this up all the way tonight if I can. I don't know. We'll see. Saw it's getting hot. Open the exhaust. Yeah, open the exhaust on the exhaust itself, on the muffler. You want to open the muffler a little more if it's getting hot, or you have to look for a point of friction. This is actually not the part saw from the other night, but if I can build it up to a full power head, I will. Sandpaper wears out pretty quick. now I can see like there's a little bit of a lump in one spot. And now I have to go back and fix that. Again, you can play with this forever. David, I'll answer a question in just a minute. Hang on. Now I'm just going to run some 220 in there instead of the 50s, and the exhaust should be pretty good to go. all that good. So I think I'm going to call the exhaust good. I mean, you can take this to 600 grit, 1200 grit, whatever you want. I don't really see the point, but um, it's pretty darn smooth in there. Can you guys see it? I don't know. I don't know what you guys can see. So anyway, I'm going to take some 50 grit now to the lowers, just because I've got the thing adapted in there. David, to answer your question, where did I get the 394 cylinders? And I have not yet seen a new old stock 394 head. I think those are extremely coveted pieces at this point. They are not available from Husky anymore. The 395 heads are no problem to get, but the 394 heads, I've not seen a new one. So every one that I have has been used of sorts or another's. Some more beat on than others. Most of these heads have been really beat on in one way or another, and to bring them back to life in any way is amazing, and to bring them back to as much power as we can get out of them is really amazing. So often I get heads just from part saws like I bought the other night, and sometimes you get lucky and the head's great, and other times you get unlucky and the head is in deep trouble. So that's kind of where this is. So yeah, so Nikki, I'm as of right now, I haven't had anybody say that, hey, they want something. So I'm going to build this up, and odds are one of you guys is going to say that you want it. So I'm just waiting for the first guy to raise his hand. Larry, is that U.S. Chrome? Because I know U.S. Chrome will do that. It's like $200 a cylinder head, though. right, Nicky. Somebody would make off with it. Sounds good, Larry. Do that. Larry, that's right. You got the point. Sure. Yeah, if you're sounding a cylinder out, they can bore it bigger and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Personally, I think $200 is probably a bargain for at least some of the cylinders. Um, the 394s, I mean, you can still find the heads. They're not impossible to find, um, but if you have a really hard head to find, or you want to overbore something for fun, then it kind of makes sense to send it out. All right, let me wash this really quick, and then I'm gonna get to the intake and to the transfers here. Yeah, they know how to do all that stuff. They do all the porting and they do all kinds of crazy stuff at those places too. I'm gonna wash this out pretty good. Be right back. right, let's do the upper transfers next, I guess. Larry, I think you can throw a 3120 cylinder head on these. It takes some doing, but I think it's possible. Okay. So if we're doing transfers, it's basically kind of the same idea here. Need a ring first. I remember seeing a cylinder head on eBay. Somebody had modified it so a 3120 so it would fit on a 394. I don't know how, but they did. Whether he was pulling somebody's leg or not, I don't know. 100, 110, 120. Let's go a couple higher. Let's go up to like 122. Don't want to overcut it. There we go. Back it off. Great. Right in the garbage. So, Nikki, did you pick up any of them? Oh boy, are we in luck. So, too much to the transfers. I might just bevel them a little bit and even them out, but I mean, it's just don't need to do too much. You want to make sure your Sharpie dries before you pull the ring out. Yeah, so not too much to do to the transfers. Again, I don't know what you guys can see and what you guys can't see, but only light lines there. But now here's where you need the right angle. Now, if you don't have a right angle, I'd probably just look at that and say, leave it. Don't do anything. It'll be close enough. It'll be fine. But that's not everybody, you know? Here we go. Fine right there. I don't need to do any more. one-handed shot. Go ahead. I'm going to take this head apart. Larry, what was wrong with the Bob Walker saw? Was it not not put together well? Oh, that's funny. So I literally have to make these burrs. They don't sell large burrs in latch style. So you actually have to grind them. Oh, I see. this won't quite fully seat, but it'll be all right for the 2 minutes I'm going to be running it here. Yeah, there we go. Yep, that's all I want to do. So you can do all kinds of stuff to the ports. You can actually make them slightly tapered or whatever. I'm just making them nice and even with the black line best I can. And now I just want to take and bevel them again with my ball diamond. Assuming I could find it. Nice bevels. Good, good. Okay, now for the easy part, the intake. Again, I'm going to go wash this because we got to put it back on the saw. Be right back. Anybody notice my bench is getting messier again? So now we need to do the intake. So here's how I do it. Bring you to wherever you want for intake. Let's say I want 80. Maybe a little bit shy. So now what I'll do, so bring it to there and make a teeny, 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 tiny mark on the piston. Tiny. You don't need a big mark. So this is a little bit of guess and check, but it's also pretty easy. Now, one of the things about the intake is the rings only pass it once, so you don't need to worry about keeping it super rounded, okay? Square is fine. In fact, I think square is important. So what you do is you go back on the piston and look for your teeny tiny mark, and you can actually measure it with your caliper if you want. I think it's about 2 millimeters. Yeah, right on about 2 millimeters. So then all you have to do is make a black line here. Wait a minute. on my old 394 pistons. And you push it down until it's where you want it. And all you're trying to do is get a flat line across the intake. And we're not trying to build a race saw. That's not the idea. Matt, had you ever, a porting job finished and released, realized why did I go that far? No. Mike Sim, hello. Evening. We're just doing some port work here. .395 piston fit into 394. No. Not really. The skirt is shorter and a bunch of other stuff. It would take some doing. So yeah, Nikki, I've had port jobs where it's not like I've gone too far, but I've had most of my port jobs that get messed up for dumb reasons. You know, I did like a really beautiful job on a 372 one day, and for some dumb reason the carburetor bolts were a little too loose. It ruined the whole saw. You know, it was just some stuff is like that. It's just frustrating. So, I tend to have little issues like that end up really buggering me. Okay, so there's my black line, and it's a little bit too high, so I don't want to grind quite to the black line. That's about 3 millimeters. I only need 2, so I need to grind 2/3 to the black line. I can't really measure with this, so I don't know if you guys can see, but there it is. So I'll throw this out there. If anybody's going to be interested in this saw, let me know. And because I'm building it up tonight, or at least I'm going to try. The 395, I know, David. I know you already have one. But you need 2, clearly. you're right, Larry. I'll go get some coffee. It's a good idea. This way, and focus on a smooth transition in, that's all. Bob, I'm basically guessing where the timing mark is. I'll tell you about it in a minute. Let me work on this. But yes, we'll get to it. I'm getting there. Hang on. It's important. The question's important. Got it. Okay. Okay, so the mark that I made on the piston gives me an approximate depth to cut, and I keep that depth in my mind. So this is really guess and check. The mark that I made for the intake gives me two things. One, it's a reference point, but it's not an absolute reference point. This might be 3 or 4 millimeters, and I only needed to grind 2. But it gives me a flat. Okay, so I want the intake super flat and square at the edges, because you want for the amount of area, you really want the whole thing opening at the same time. So nice and square, because you don't have to worry about the rings here. You don't have to worry about the rings. So does that make sense to you guys? So I made the mark on the piston, and that gives me. You could also trim the piston skirt to that height if you want to. I don't like the idea, but you can do it. So I really don't like the idea of trimming piston skirts, but you can certainly do it. Plenty of guys do. So I like the idea of doing the intake like this gives me a couple of things. One, obviously gives me the intake duration that I want, but also makes it nice and flat. So, and therefore, you're going to be more efficient when this is opening and closing. Ah, nice and flat all the way across. Yeah, but Nikki, you can just go and grind something out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Just don't do a 394 head first, because you can't get these anymore. You might not want to have this be your first board job. Get an aftermarket head. Play with it. The Husky 350s are ideal for that because they've got removable transfer covers. You can go in there and grind that as much as you want. You don't even need a right angle to do it. There. Okay, so now what we can do is we can look at the intake and be like, oh wow, you know, that's all nice and flat. Does it all open at the same time? So you guys can look in there and you tell me. Too bright. Let's see. I don't know what you guys can see, but I'm going to give you a bunch of different angles back and forth. So let me look and see what I see. This side over here opens slightly too soon. So what I want to grind on, just slightly, just mark. But overall, my intake now is about 78. That's fine. I'm going to pull it back off. I'm going to gently massage that. We're going to clean the cylinder, Scotch-Brite it, and let's build this thing, you know? Oh, while I'm at it, I guess I can look at the transfers. So yeah, like 120. I'm going to call it 123. Let's call it 123. Nothing wrong with that. Leave it right there. Well, did I? And also, again, while I'm at it, I can look at the exhaust and see, did I hit it? Did I hit my target, which was like 101? And you can also look at see how even the exhaust is. And right in the center, I've got a little bit of a crown. That's good. $101. Perfect. So now we can do this. Bob, just so you know, when you start porting saws, you're not going to want to run any saws that are not ported. And I've got to switch up my power here. yeah, the 359 really is the big brother to the 350. So an awesome saw to port. I've never done one, but I can see how they would be really fantastic. I've always wanted to do one, but David decided to take all my 359 parts. I was going to do one, but we can blame David. Okay. So yes, now I'm going to cheat just a little bit. This is a Scotch-Brite that just happens to fit perfectly into here. I'm going to go wash this, and then I think we're going to work on putting this down. That should do fine. Okay. Put that to the side. There's all my 359 parts here. Just so people know, I've got options here. This actually looks like a brandy new 395 half wrap that I can put on this thing. If anybody wants a full wrap, I can do that too. I think I've got some other saws that have full wrap on them that I can swap out if need be. I've got these, which are smaller dogs, and I've also got the bigger dogs too, depending on what people want. So I've got low top, which I can steal off of one of my other saws, and I got high top, which is here. Usually people prefer high top, so I was thinking about building high top. Yeah, Bob, if you can port a 350 and make his 346 Cry Uncle, it'll be fun. Nikki, this is really a lot about ambition. You know, I could keep going on that head forever and ever and ever, polishing it and this and that. I don't usually see much point. You definitely with chainsaws you start running into the law of diminishing returns in a hurry. So you do have to be careful about that. Just bring this back over here for a moment. Well, and keep in mind, Nikki, I do appreciate the kind words, but keep in mind there's a lot more measurements and things that you can do, which I am just simply not doing. Mostly because I don't feel like bothering. So there is a little bit of laziness around here too that makes me that separates me from the pros and not. You know, so the pros are the guys that do out all the measurements, that do the experimentation, and you know, my hat's off to those guys for sure because they spend all kinds of time doing all that. It's not me, you know, it's not me, but I'm okay with that. And this is still going to develop some darn nice compression and run hopefully pretty zippy, you know. So again, we're not going for super high compression here, but I think if we get somewheres around the 175 mark, I'd say we're doing pretty good. $190's better. Yes, $190's better. $200's better, but I didn't machine the squish band on this thing, so I can't really expect, you know, 200 plus. If you machine the squish band, then you're talking, you know, up there. But you need somebody other than me to do that because even though I have the lathe, I don't have a boring bar on the thing. Do I know where to find an Echo Can 3? No. Yeah, I think the full wrap handles are fun. I really do. A lot of the guys around here, like the tree guys, can't stand them, but whatever. All right, let's see what's next here. I'd like to get the tank on. It really is nice to get the tank on. And since I've got this tank already ready to rock, might as well, you know. The AV mount. I need an AV mount. Hey, Ryan. Did you get your kit today, finally? Sorry. I heard from Brett. That was kind of my fault. I sent it all to Brett, but he didn't know what the heck it was. Sorry, Ryan. Bob, I'm with you too. I like building my own. I really don't like buying my own saws. I don't like buying new saws. I like to be able to build what I'm going to use because then I know it, really well. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Love getting the tank on first. I'm sorry, Ryan. Just laughing my ass off at your expense. Forgive me. It's like, what? Okay. Uh-oh. Hang on. That's no good. Try again. Let's get... there's supposed to be a washer here. Don't forget the washer. Time to make the donuts. Oh, it's all under here. That's the problem. Okay. Think I have one? Right, yep. This is where you have to have just like unlimited stinking parts because you miss one little stupid thing. Just an AV mount, and ideally there's supposed to be a washer here. I don't know how much it actually matters, but yep, I got one. There. Well, I'll go with this build. I don't know if I have any more later, but whatever. Good. Oh, I forgot it. Hate when I do that. Something so stupid. this AV mount, the rubber mount, there. And so this, okay. Yeah, I forget how I have an OEM chain brake for this thing, and it's pricey, man. Just did this the other night. There we go. There we go, almost. There we go. Piece of cake. Right. Anyway. Now that AV buffer's on, finally. Okay. Now we can put the tank on. Yeah, I think this one's, Brandon, I think this one's pricier than that, even. How did I learn the trick with the string? I think it's actually in the steel handbook for doing the 200T intake boot. And oddly enough, you don't actually need it for the 200T intake boot. You can just push it through with a ball Allen, but it can help. So I'm going to put the limiter screws in here. I think we had one from this part saw. Yeah. Always running out of these darn limiter screws. Get another one for the bottom here. Yeah, 372 tanks are a little bit of a trick to install. No question. You just got to get the right angle and then it goes. And give it a, at the right angle, you just give it a kapop and it goes. I don't know why they made them so difficult. Good. So now your upper and lower limiters are on. This piece. With this particular one, it doesn't have this part underneath, which I have to look for. I might have a replacement, but I don't know. Plastics. Probably, I don't know. I know I bought a few of them, but whether or not they show up here in my box. Also need the intake partition to partition the wall. Which again I seem to be low on. Here we go. There's a partition wall. Here's a switch. Here's the muffler. Chain catcher. Okay, I don't think I have that funny piece. I'm going to write that down. So I actually need wire, kill wire. Ground wire. So we need the kill wire, we need the ground wire, we need those clip carb base clip. Goes under there. Could probably use some gas caps. X like 6. Get a few of them. Limiter screws. Matt, will you make your own wires? I can, but if I'm going to sell the saw, it makes more sense just to buy it. It's like probably $6 or $8 for a wire. It's not cheap, but if you're going to sell it, you probably want an OEM wire. Yeah, so far I like working on the Huskies better. They're just easier overall, I found. But that's my own personal experience, you know. I've actually got a ground wire here that'll work. This carburetor base has that clippy thingy, so I guess I'll use this. Now, one thing about if you're dropping the head by 30 thousandths, you might have to be prepared to drop this by 30 thousandths. So what I usually do is grind this down a bit, this plastic right here. I just grind that down a bit. Sorry, I was out of the field. So here's your partition, and you want to be able to grind that down a bit. Because if you're dropping the head, you got to make space for it. And it's not much. I mean, 30 thousandths isn't that much, but it's still something, you know? Yeah, Nikki, I know, I hear you. It just, if I can, I'll buy the OEM wires. I don't know, just me. other thing to do is to put a hole here. Check this out. The dumb thing about these 394s is they actually have a punch out here for the kill wire, but they don't punch it out. Stupid. See, I've got a kill wire already made, but I'd rather not use it. Kind of silly actually, but I don't actually have a kill wire here other than that, so I'm gonna have to order that, which kind of sucks because I was looking to move this a little faster. Oh well. Whatever. Yeah, I don't like the MS290s either. I will never work on one again, ever. I had enough of it. I'm good. Okay, so this is a perfectly good cable here. You know what? Another thing I got to do to the carburetor base. The fuel line hole here does not need to be that tight. It just doesn't. And it's coming up at an angle anyway, so make room for it at an angle. See all the little things you got to tweak? These builds take forever. And you can slap these things together a whole lot faster than this, obviously, but it wouldn't be all kind of tweaked. And it needs tweaking. there. These, here, okay. That guy goes there. That guy goes there. Yeah, some people have a thing for yellow saws, you know? That's great. I'd say no thanks. But everybody's got their own thing. Carburetor base is down and solid. Switch. Don't normally need a hammer to put these in. There we go. On off switch. Cylinder head time, I guess. Yeah, probably. Let's take this, bring this up. So brand new Meteor, I think this is a Meteor piston.
Hey, Daddy, I have to tell you something.
What's up, buddy?
A mission is at the castle. The whole castle just splashes down.
Which castle? Upstairs on the computer?
No, upstairs in the shelves where it was collapsing in 2 minutes.
The whole castle was collapsing in 2
And you
minutes.
have to come see it.
Okay. Sounds reasonable, actually. What do you think, guys? Is that reasonable?
Yes. Yes. When
Christopher, you're live on TV.
What?
You're live on TV.
What?
You can see yourself right here. That's a Christopher.
But Daddy had to come upstairs. Where's Daddy?
All right. Guys, I think I'm being called upstairs. If I can come back, I will. If not, we will resume this possibly some other time tomorrow. I got the rings on the piston here. So yes, if I can, I will resume this later. If not, we're going to call it a night. Yeah, Spike 60's not doing more parts. He will still ship heads, I believe, but he's not doing parts.
Hey, Daddy, you have to come upstairs.
Hey, Daddy, I have to come upstairs. Okay, guys, I'm going to say goodnight, and if I can come back later, I will, but if not, I will catch you guys later. We'll definitely get this cylinder head on as soon as possible. Be safe, everybody. Email me if you guys need anything. Especially guys that are interested in tools, let me know. I'm going to go get some tools tomorrow, and we'll have really good stock on the kits. Yay. Okay, catch you guys later. Bye.